Welcome to Library Out Loud, a conversation about any and all things related to the Spokane County Library District. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and our friends at STCU. Now, here's your host, Jane Baker.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, the Communication and Development Officer for the Spokane County Library District. Joining me today is Tom Quinn. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Jane.
Tom, you are our December Artist in Residence in the lab at the North Spokane Library, and so glad to have you join us today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Great. It's nice to meet you. We just met just a few minutes ago, so I'm looking forward to this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
So we have a wonderful little paragraph written about you here in our
right.
Engage magazine.
I can't wait to hear this.
Yes. It says you're originally from Great Falls, Montana, and you grew up surrounded by art.
Well, in Great Falls, the hero is Charles Russell. Mm-hmm. He's just about the only really celebrity who ever came out of Great Falls, and so they make a big deal about him there. I went to a high school that was named after him.
Oh, wow.
I used to spend a lot of time at an art museum that was all dedicated to his work.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, I also have a cousin who's a really famous artist in Montana.
Really?
And I guess I grew up around a lot of her art as well.
Mm-hmm. So paintings and that kind of an art?
Yeah, I was doing paintings when I was just a child.
Wow. Wow, that was a great influence on you then.
Yeah.
As a child, so watercolors, I'm assuming.
Well, I did watercolors. I was doing my first oil paintings when I was about 13.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, acrylic paintings and oil paintings.
Oil and acrylic, is that your medium of choice?
Well, generally I do large paintings in oils and small paintings in acrylics.
Oh, wow.
And I do some watercolor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. Great. So you later attended Gonzaga University, and is that what brought you to Spokane?
Yes.
And you got to spend a junior year in Italy?
That's right. Gonzaga has that Gonzaga in Florence program, and back then you spent a whole year over there, which was just great for me.
And you were studying art?
Well, I was studying art. I'm not sure what everybody else was doing. Most of them were just college juniors who were just spending their year in Europe.
Sure.
But I was fascinated by the art.
Oh, yeah.
And just spent a lot of time in the Uffizi Museum.
Mm-hmm.
That place is teeming with tourists most of the year, but in the wintertime, it's a lonely place. And I spent a lot of time there.
And you were studying the paintings and...
The paintings and the sculptures and so on. Oh, yes. I was a big fan of Botticelli.
Oh, is that right?
When he did the Birth of Venus. That was one of my all-time favorite paintings there.
Oh, how very exciting for you to get to do that, to start off your artistic career. Well, you live in Spokane now, and our paragraph says you've created several murals and hundreds of easel paintings.
Well, yes, I think so.
What murals?
Okay, well, the last one I did was on the corner of Sprague and Division.
Okay.
And that was a revision of the very first mural I did.
Okay.
I did one back in 1993.
Really?
I was really surprised to find myself chosen for that one because I was still new in Spokane at that time. I mean, I had lived in Spokane before when I went to Gonzaga, but then I came back to Spokane in 1991 and was surprised to find out that I'd already gotten a mural commission just 2 years after I arrived there. And that one, it was a really early work of mine.
Okay.
And I always wanted to get another chance to come back to it and do something new in that same location. And so I got an opportunity 3 years ago.
Really? Sprague and Division. Okay,
Yeah.
So when I leave here today, I'm going to drive by there.
Okay.
What is that like I'm assuming it's like at the side of a building?
Well, no, it was on the underpass.
Underpass,
over there. So it's
okay.
on actually 3 walls. So
Really?
There was the south Sprague wall,
Okay.
and that's where the bus stop is.
Okay.
That was always a really busy spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did the north wall, just a very long panorama of a shoreline. And on the east side, that's where it slopes. And so I did just 4 scenes of river scenes, because that was what they said they wanted in there.
Oh, sure. So when you're commissioned to do something like that, you have to kind of go with what they want you to paint?
Well,
or
yes, because murals have to be commissioned.
Okay.
And so you pretty much have to do what they have in mind. Sometimes they'll ask for ideas from the artist. The very first time, they didn't have any particular theme in mind, so I just did some images of marmots, because that's what I think of when I think of Spokane.
I remember those.
Yes, and so they thought they'd like to see some. So when I did them the first time around, I just did them on a small sheet of paper, and they were a little smaller than life. I didn't realize what they were going to look like when they were bigger than life, and so we had one giant marmot head that was on Sprague Avenue. They did want to have big marmots again, this time a little smaller big ones. And so this one here showed, I had, if you go take a look at it, there's one that's about 10 feet high in the foreground. Okay. Another one about the same size. And behind that is Willie Wiley walking with a giant marmot.
Oh, and, awesome. That's awesome. Yes, I do recall some of those now, and I'm going to have to drive by there again. So how long does it take to paint a mural like that? Oh,
well, it took me fairly long. I know other muralists work a lot faster than I do.
Okay.
But I do work kind of slowly, and when you're working outdoors, you have a lot of days when you can't work on the mural. The weather gets in the way.
Sure.
My schedule gets in the way, all kinds of other things. And so that took about 4 months.
Wow.
To finish.
Wow.
Yeah, but I've done some that took longer than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a project. Yes, that's very exciting. And now you, well, let me jump ahead here. Okay. Illustrated 4 books.
Well, probably done more than that since then.
Really?
Yes. And none of them were big bestsellers. They were just, and most of them were privately printed books.
I gotcha. So now how does that happen? Does the author approach you and ask you to do that, or is it a publisher?
Well, and again, I never had a publisher approach me, but yes, it was the author who approached me. A couple of times it was books that were written by somebody I knew personally.
Awesome.
Other times people would call up the Spokane Art School or the Spokane Arts Commission and ask if they had an artist, and that's how I get a lot of freelance work.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, names of the books or something we could check out, or
sure.
Am I putting you on the spot here? Sorry.
I can name the books. One was called Moose, Bruce, and the Goose.
Okay.
Yes. Another one was called Down Under Jones. There was one called Good Gossip. And none of them are really big bestsellers. They're probably not at the library.
You never know.
Right now.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
There may be something that I had done over there. Frankly, I can't remember.
Okay.
All of them. I did a book cover this year, and I don't even know the name of the title of the book.
Really?
I can't remember what it was. No.
How do you have to read the book first, or?
Well, in this case, I didn't. I didn't even know the title.
Oh, sure.
Yes, there have been some others, but I
so
did read the book.
Is it the author that says, I want this kind of an illustration on the cover?
Yes.
Or
Well, there was 3 of the books I illustrated were for an old English teacher of mine back in Great Falls.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So he'd just give me the books and ask me to think of what to illustrate for them.
Oh, that's great. What fun. So, and now you teach also at the Corbin Art Center.
At Corbin Art Center and the Spokane Art School.
Wow.
Yeah.
Busy guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you're very busy guy. And you are our December Artist in Residence at the Lab in North Spokane. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about what classes you're going to be doing up there and the artwork you'll be working on.
All right,
so we'll be right back on Library Out Loud.
Thank you.
Know where to go? Consider our friends at Breakthrough Incorporated. Breakthrough takes great pride in mentoring their DDA clients who have intellectual disabilities and their BRS clients who have challenging behaviors toward the creation of safe, appropriate, ethically sound life goals. They integrate programs at school and home to enrich their lives. They work hard to make a positive difference in you and your family's lives. Breakthrough provides a highly structured, fully staffed residential setting in local neighborhoods. 6 in Spokane and 2 in the Tri-Cities. Diagnoses affect people differently, so their service to each resident is unique, giving them the opportunity to grow and evolve. For more information on Breakthrough, visit their website at breakthroughincorporated.org.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
And welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District, and today my guest is Tom Quinn. Tom is our December Artist in Residence at the Lab in North Spokane Library, and as part of the Artist in Residence, you'll be up there working on things in the lab, and people can come up and talk to you or just kind of watch and see your process. And you're also teaching a couple classes, so I want to mention those classes first. Basic Color Theory on Saturday, December 2nd from 1 to 3 p.m. We're anticipating it being popular because registration is required. So if you're interested in that class, go to scld.org and you can register there for that class.
Okay.
And also you'll be teaching the Art of the Renaissance, and that'll be on Saturday, December 16th from 1 to 3 p.m., also in the lab at the North Spokane Library. So let's start with Basic Color Theory. What can we expect to learn in that one?
Okay. Well, there's a myth that colors is a really complicated subject, and it takes a long time to learn about it. I think in 2 hours you could probably learn everything you need to learn about it.
Really?
I do remember one time one of my students brought in a book called Color Theory Made Easy, and the book was about this thick.
Oh, no.
How easy can it be if it's that big?
Right?
I happen to think it's a fairly simple subject, and we'll be able to cover that in about that amount of time.
Oh, that sounds
One of the things I'm
fascinating.
going to be talking about is that is different kinds of color schemes. One of them is a split complementary color scheme, where you've got, let's say you take one color on the color wheel, like red, for
Yeah.
instance, and across from that on the color wheel will be green.
Sure.
Well, in two different positions by the side there, that would be yellow, green, and blue, green. Well, if you do a composition that's mostly in red, with some yellow, green, and some blue, green, that's what you got. It's called a split complementary color scheme.
Okay.
And that happens to be just exactly like the 3-chord progression in most folk songs. So a song like "Oh Susanna," you might say that's in a split complementary color scheme.
Very
So
interesting.
I'll be talking about the parallel between the two and how that works out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fascinating. I might have to sign up for
Oh,
that class
okay.
and come up there and hear more about that. I know I have at home, a little bit off the subject, one of these wheels color wheel,
Yep,
yeah, and it has all that stuff, and it just seems so complicated to me, but maybe you could explain it easier in that class.
There are 12 colors on a color wheel.
Uh-huh.
There are 12 notes in the Western musical
Sure.
system. There are 12 hours on a clock. So they all seem to have something in common. And I once
Yes.
wrote about this on Facebook, that colors are very similar to musical notes. And somebody wrote, well, sure, they're both frequencies, which I never thought
Of
about.
course. Yeah. Oh, that sounds fascinating. That'll be a great class. And then Art of the Renaissance. What will we? Well, of course,
Well, that's
we'll
going to be
learn
an
about.
easy subject
Sure.
to teach, because I've been studying it for all these years, and
all right.
I could never get enough of that. That's my favorite art is what came out of Italy in
Of
the
course,
15th and
yes.
16th centuries.
Uh-huh.
And so I'll be talking about Botticelli, one of my favorite artists of all time, but also the big three: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael.
Oh, sounds fascinating.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and that class has no registration. So
doesn't. Well,
come on
we're gonna
in
do
and
something about that.
we're expecting a lot of people and
Okay.
make lots of room for you. That'll be great. Again, those classes are on Saturday, December 2nd, and the second one on Saturday, December 16th. So still plenty of time to sign up and get
Alrighty.
up there. So then let's talk about what you'll be doing in the lab during the month.
Yes, well, I've been working on a painting in there, and I've just sketched it in just now. The painting's going to be 2 feet high by 3 feet wide.
Okay.
And it's going to be a larger version of this picture here. How
Okay.
do we get this to show up? What do
Yep. Can you see it?
is it
Yes.
showing
yes.
up there?
Yes,
All
we
right.
can see it.
Okay.
That's a beautiful picture.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
And so now you've sketched that out.
This
or
is
you're-
a smaller
a smaller
sketch for
version
it,
of
yeah.
that. And
I'll
it'll
do a larger
be
one.
3 feet by 2 feet.
That's right.
Okay.
A little
And
bit larger.
so it's sketched out on canvas?
That's what I do. Yes. In fact, last night what I did was I projected the image onto the canvas and traced it through.
Oh, okay.
And so it'll take me maybe a few days to get the layout done, because I do a painting in 2 stages. First of all, I cover the whole canvas with gray, and I like to work on gray because if you work on white, all you can do is go darker. But if you work on gray, you can go darker or lighter.
Or lighter.
Yeah, and so then I can sketch everything in with a dark gray paint.
Okay.
It's very easy to make corrections that way because that gray paint is opaque, and so you can make little corrections along your edges, along your lines, and get everything just right. I can also use a lighter gray for the brightest highlights. And so before I get out the color, now I have a range of values to work from. And the painting doesn't take very long once you get to that stage. That actually takes a little longer than the actual color stage.
Very interesting. So how long will it take you to, will it take the whole month or?
I expect it to, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll be there as many days as I can. But
Oh.
I'm kind of a slow painter.
Well, that's
So-
great when people will come in and be able to watch and see what you're
Oh,
doing
yes.
and
ask questions.
chat with you. How
learn
exciting.
something.
That is such a great way to make art accessible here in the library. You know, it's free and all ages of people and can come in and talk to you and watch and see what you're doing. And who knows who you may influence to a future artistic career.
I'll also have some paintings on display
Uh-huh.
in the front by the checkout stand.
Yes, there's an art wall there. Yes, if you haven't been to the North Spokane Library lately, there is a beautiful big wall there that we feature different art every month. So we'll get to see some of your other pieces as
okay.
well. Now, what made you choose that painting?
Oh, well, I had been wanting to do something fairly large. And I had been planning to do that a little bit larger, but I wasn't able to get a canvas any bigger than 2 by 3.
Okay.
I thought about even building my own, but that would have set me behind too far on my schedule.
Oh, sure.
And so I decided to do it that size. I had originally done this much smaller, and it was a proposal for a mural.
Oh, okay.
And it was rejected.
Oh.
But I thought I'd like to do it as another painting, and this might be a good chance. It is still a fairly large painting, and it's something I've been wanting to do for some time. So it's part realism and part surrealism.
Yeah,
So-
beautiful,
Oh,
beautiful
thanks.
picture.
That's
Yes.
just one thing I like to do in my pictures. I like to combine the real with the unreal.
Okay.
So we get some contrast between the two of them. And so in this painting here, it'll be a fairly realistic rooster and a fairly realistic wolf. But a stylized sun and moon.
Sun and moon.
And 5-pointed stars. The real clouds and fake clouds. So
And what led you to that combination?
that's just something I've been doing for a long time, trying to combine the real and the artificial. So, for instance, a long time ago, I had this idea of showing some plastic lawn flamingos along with some real lawn flamingos. Just to,
Oh,
so
fun.
you can see the combination of
Sure,
the two.
sure.
Or a painting, maybe I can get to the one here that, I think I'll have this one at the library if anyone wants to see it. And this one is along that same line here. It's where you got
Oh,
yes,
awesome.
an unreal sun and unreal clouds
But the
among
trees
real clouds
and
real
the
trees.
woman are very fabulous work.
Okay. Oh, thanks.
Now, will that be oil or acrylic?
That's an oil painting.
Oil,
That's
okay.
about 5 feet by 5 feet.
Okay. So, wow, that's big.
That's a large one, yes.
So if the bigger they are, then you would go with oil.
Generally, and the reason is that acrylic is a very fast-drying medium.
Okay.
And so you'd think that you could paint really quickly with it. But the downside of it is that you're always having to squeeze out more colors because they dry up on your palette
Okay.
as you're working.
Okay.
And the paint has a way of kind of slowing you down. It's a little like painting with glue. With oil, the paint flows much more smoothly, much faster, and you can cover a large area in a lot less time with oil paint than with acrylic paint.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you're working very small, oil isn't all that practical because you're working in layers, and you need those layers to be dry so you can paint on top of them.
I see.
And-
So the acrylic dries a little quicker and
Oh, it's much
and
quicker.
you can
yeah.
paint.
Well, sure. You know, if a layer of acrylic paint is dry in about 20 minutes. or
Gotcha.
so.
Okay.
The same layer of oil paint takes about 3 days.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, well, you can take advantage of that slow drying time because then you
Sure.
can do some very smooth modeling and you can soak a dark value into a light value.
Sure.
Things you can't do with acrylic.
Uh-huh.
On the other hand, with acrylic, you can pile colors on top of each other. So in murals, though, I have to do those in acrylic because it sticks to the wall
Oh,
better than oil.
sure.
And generally when I do murals, what I do is I'll buy acrylic latex paint from the paint store, which is pretty much the same formula, but it just flows a lot more smoothly. And do that to block in the large areas, and then take out the small tubes of acrylic paint, and then paint in all the details.
So you kind of create a canvas first.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? I know there's a difference, but
Okay.
how is it different for you to paint on canvas as opposed to when you're doing a mural, which may be on concrete?
Well, yeah, murals come in all different kinds of surfaces, and
Uh-huh.
I've done just about all of them. I've painted on bricks.
Really?
I painted on concrete.
Uh-huh.
And some on plywood.
Oh.
And so there's a wide range of surfaces you can work on with murals. When I do oil paintings and acrylic paintings, sometimes I work on canvas and sometimes I work on smooth panels.
Okay.
And the advantage of working on the panels is you can get a lot of really fine details on them, and very smooth texture, very smooth color transitions, clean edges, and so on.
Sure.
With canvas, though, you can use those bumps as a way of getting some texture in there.
Ah.
And so, and if you want a really good transition from a dark to a light, for instance, what you can do is you can coat an area with a dark color, and after that dries, you can scumble it on. So we call it scumbling.
Okay.
A lighter value on top of that.
Okay.
And let some of it sit on the bumps of the canvas, and that's a good way to get some textures and tones.
Some texture. So it's more than just the paint. You're also working with the texture and
Yeah.
obviously I'm not an artist. That's why I'm asking some of these silly
You can always sign up
questions.
for these classes.
I
And
should.
Then you become one.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that,
Well, I
but
think so.
it'd be very fascinating to see this whole process. I'm very excited about it.
okay.
So after being the artist in residence, after December's over, what's next for you?
Oh, well, I mean, I've always got my own paintings I'm working on. And I apply for murals for public art projects all the time.
Awesome.
Yes, and so I'm hoping I'll get some more of those in the year to come. So far, I don't have any prospects for any, but
Okay.
I always on the lookout for those.
Something will come up. So aside from the library and looking for the mural down there at Sprague and Division,
Oh.
where else could I go and see your work?
Oh, the Spokane International Airport has a mural of mine.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
It's in the Alaska Horizon
Okay.
concourse, so you'd have to be taking a flight on that
Sure.
airline to see it.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so once you
Uh,
get past TSA,
Might have a picture of yes, and
Gotcha.
people tend to be in a hurry to get past TSA, and when they're on the way out, they're in a hurry to get back home.
yes.
I'll see if I have that image here.
That's funny. I was
saw
just at the airport last week. Shoot.
What airline did you fly?
I was on Alaska too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of people say they didn't notice it. It's only 26 feet wide and 22 feet high.
Okay.
But nobody ever seems to notice it. What it is, it depicts a famous flight that was held in Spokane in 1929.
Really?
Took off from Phelps Field.
Uh-huh.
The Spokane Sun God was this airplane. And it was the longest nonstop flight at that time. Now, was Nick Mamer and Art Walker, the two pilots, and they flew all around the perimeter of the contiguous United States. It took 8 days
Wow.
to do it. They were able to do this because they had the first in-flight fueling, and a
Okay.
lot of things went wrong on that flight. Charles Lindbergh's flight was a very long flight, and that's the really famous one. But things went really smoothly on that flight.
Sure.
Charles Lindbergh himself had been in a lot more dangerous flights than that one. This was more dangerous than Lindbergh's flight. A lot more things went wrong with it. It was a pretty heroic flight, and it's not very well known. And
Oh.
so my mural shows the flight returning to Phelps Field, which you can see in the distance. And we have two airplanes stacked up to each other. One of them is passing down a gas hose to the other one to refuel.
Gotcha. Well, I will definitely have to notice that next time
Oh,
I'm out
okay.
at the airport. Tom, you have been a fascinating guest
Oh,
to
thanks.
have in here today, and I can't wait to see your art and your classes up at North Spokane Library. And
Okay.
we're very excited to have you up there. Thank you for being
Oh.
a guest here today.
Oh, thank you,
And
Jane.
We'll see you next time here on Library Out Loud.
Okay, thank you.